we can start the top 8 here for Riftbound Regional Qualifier in Bologna. We're going into game 1 of this best of 3. A reminder, these are now untimed rounds, so we're here until we have a winner.
Indeed, and it is going in. We're going to choose our battlefields. Have revealed the legends already, not that they were questioning who they were playing against, what they were playing against. At this point of the day, everyone knows what everyone else is playing. And you can see this hard ram, triple mobilized, triple catalyst of Aeons to just turbo out this dazzling Aurora. You have the sabotage, not 3, you have challenge, which also of course helps you, and invert timelines.
Yeah, I like an invert timelines. I will say as well, 2 copies of Volibear. Which is, I've seen a lot of lists running 1. Volibear imposing, great if it comes out from Aurora, feels bad if you have it in hand at any point. Like the couple of games I played, sometimes it would be like, okay, I check my mulligan hand, I send 2 to the bottom, off the top comes a Volibear, and I'm like, well, that's not getting played ever because of the D-ramp after Dazzling Aurora. Yeah, exactly, imagine 2. Whereas on the other side, we have Marcus. We did see this list earlier today, where we have that good mix of Draven that we've come to expect, the Varus Forerunners, Spinning Axes, you've got the Edge of Night in there.
And now just look at all of those different combat tricks, all of those cards you have to play around versus Draven when 2 runes are up. Tide Turner, Hard Bargain, Edge of Night, Hidden, Switcheroo, and Rebuke, and Fight or Flight. All of those cards are interactions. Don't forget the Spinning Axe, the probably best card for Draven. All of those cards have to be taken into account by your opponent. When you have just 2 runes up, which is why Targon's Peak is probably in the deck of Marcus Patel.
I don't know that this is 100% the case, but Sebi, I would say game 1 is probably going to be that easiest moment, and this is something I am sure on. Game 1 will be the easiest one for dodging hand attack, because there's only 1 Mind Splitter in Marcus's list. So that means Aurora basically, unless Marcus, you know, gets to a point where there's no Aurora on 9, and this is where choosing to play first or second is going to be a big factor. Sebi should be able to get the Aurora down with a very short window on what Marcus has availability for that Mind Splitter. So we're off to the races. Gonna start things out with some draw. Catalyst is what you want to see, but also I think there was an Aurora in that 3 cards, which would tell me that Sebi probably has one in hand. 1 to ramp up into it, but putting 1 to the bottom means you're not gonna see it. Yeah, okay, there is one in hand. Good, that is, I'm glad to see that from from Sebi, because otherwise I'm like, you need that.
you don't put this on the bottom of the deck. What are you doing? No, we are set up also with the Catalyst of Aeon, so that's a pretty good start. Of course, in an ideal world, you will also find the Mobilize before you stack deck.
So there's also a little bit of passive pressure on the board here as well. I know we touched on battlefields a little coming into this. Sigil of the Storm does slow down your opponent. Double Catalyst is nice to see if you're the Aurora player, that is. Draven probably not going to be so happy to see that. But Sigil of the Storm stops people from kind of scoring both battlefields very frequently. So it passively stops the attack that Draven wants to do early.
Goes into the Reaver's Row with the Overzealous fan just for some easy points. I think the good thing about Sigil of the Storm is usually in a back and forth game, for example with an Ezreal, sometimes Ezreals play at the Sigil of the Storm, they remove your units when you conquer the Sigil of the Storm. So you're locked in on 1 battlefield for almost the entirety of the game. You can't afford to conquer it. But versus the Aurora deck, you can just place a unit in there and then chill.
Now, with perfect information, we know there's no Mind Splitter for Marcus. Obviously, Sebi does not know that at this point. So it means that as long as the top card of Marcus's deck is not a Mind Splitter, the first Aurora will resolve. But Marcus, if a Mind Splitter comes off the top, this is going to be a pivotal moment early on in our top 8.
First, 3rd turn Aurora, or 4th turn Aurora rather. Marcus is now going up to 7. Is he going to find a Mind Splitter? Is only playing 1. That kind of looked like one.
It did look like one.
We are so close to the Aurora turn. Draven is going to the Sigil of the Storm. You have to float 1 of your runes before, and then you can put it back onto.
I'm waiting with bated breath. I keep getting tiny flicks through the hand.
I mean, if your opponent is at this much.
No,
oh no, we're going to play
okay.
a Darius here. So we're preparing for a big push as well. The thing is, if your opponent only plays a Dazzling Aurora and doesn't find a bad Dead Bloom Predator, which I'm not really even sure we saw in that deck list.
No, I didn't see any in the list. It was Mind Splitters and the Volley Bears with the primary.
I will say, keep in mind, just resolving a Dazzling Aurora, getting it onto the battlefield, does not win you the game immediately. There's a bunch of points on the side of Marcus. Good potential to hold next turn, go up to 5. There's no Aspirants climb in the game, so you are almost there then.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's been so focused on like this first Aurora, which does take a few turns off in the early game, and then it just allows Draven to do the Draven thing of like, cool, I'll play efficient units on curve, and I'll basically just conquer battlefields, and I'm okay recycling a little bit.
Now we're going to see some big information here. Sabotage, Catalyst of Aeons, Last Rites, Fight or Flight, and I think this is already the point where we start taking some notes, see so many cards until the first unit is revealed. Of course, when you're looking closely at your opponent's deck, you know which cards they can or cannot have in hand. That's something to really keep in mind sometimes. Now, of course, other information is going to be exchanged. Sebiqqqqqqqqqq is going to see this hand that Marcus Patel offers him here. Overzealous Fan, a Treasure Hunter, a Spinning Axe, and I think it is a hard bargain. So that is actually not the strongest hand when you're thinking about going into a heavy mid-game here. But Sebiqqqqqqqq this turn also did not get a lot of tempo going for him, right? Because he played 9 energy, 2 power cost just to play a Mind Splitter, basically. I mean, the Mind Splitter was for free, and it's gonna accelerate. Theoretically, not the keyword accelerate, but it's going to accelerate in the means of next turns. There's going to be many more big guys coming along.
That's one way of dealing with a Spinning Axe, is taking it out of hand with the Mind Splitter. And you know, you are so right about now the turn that Draven is going to be able to have does put pressure on it. It now looks to what can Sebi do in response. That is a big card in this matchup. Switcheroo off the top from Marcus. Again, the thing about playing big units is if we just say, yeah, I'll take your Might, I'll take that. That sounds great. Ooh, an Overzealous Fan, I'll trade that. I was going to trade it anyway.
I mean, Overzealous Fan is actually also still really strong in that matchup because it just pushes your opponent's unit back and you don't have that many.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like, okay, I'll just keep my timer ticking.
Yeah. Also, there is still the Darius in the back. I think you keep those, you take those easy points when you can. I think, is this the moment where you immediately push in the Overzealous Fan? No, what you can do is also push in the Darius, then play 2 cards, ready it again, and then push it back to base, just so you can secure your units.
Also on Reavers, so we'll have that Defender trigger if needed on a further one. And this is the combo when it comes to 2 cards from the set that I think is synonymous. And now we've moved it away. It's still fine with Noctis Hopeful. I was going to say, Overzealous Fan on a battlefield with a unit. Normally Draven means you just get so much value of just, I'll push you back from combat. Oh, I want to combat. I'll draw a card. I'll create a gold.
So good.
Sounds good.
Now, we're also hiding another card that could be the possible switcheroo. So Marcus is already at 5 points. Of course, now it is going to be the tough play. Oh, picking up a Volley Bear, that is not what you want to see as your top deck. I think Sebiqqqqqqqq is missing some cards like Challenge that are going to really push you forward, help you push through those boards, especially with this Darius. Goes for a call shot here. Now that you have already used the Dazzling Aurora, you have it in play, it's not going anywhere. I think you can just freely ramp away all of your runes. You do not even care. Keep in mind, when your runes are gone, they are kind of really gone because you're not playing Sivir, you're playing Misfortune.
You're not getting them in exchange. So I do have a follow-up that there are no Dead Bloom Predators. I have that confirmed in the lineup. Oh, and there's a Volley Bear in hand. We talked about how awkward that can be as we go potentially towards a Aurora. And there's a card that I saw in the list, the Bullet Time has been taken. That is one way of kind of cutting in front of things, like whether it's an Overzealous Fan, take it out potentially. Although it is action speed, so it's not reaction, so you wouldn't be able to do that before the trigger. It is more just to clear out a battlefield.
Thing is, Bullet Time, it's a, I want to say, last resort card.
Sure, because you're going to spend so much to do it.
I mean, there's some situation when you're playing versus something like Victor and there's 10 recruit tokens, you're absolutely fine just recycling one rune.
Challenge.
But, ooh, we're going to go for a challenge
on
here.
the Darius as well, so there will just end up.
I mean, you know most of the cards in hand of Marcus Patel. There wasn't too much.
Yeah, just a visual thing here. The spinning axe is also in the trash, so we currently have 2 trash piles with a Darius at the top and a spinning axe at the bottom. Hopefully we can. Yeah.
I mean, this time
it's
around
fine,
are
but
basically
like,
live.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say it is fine, but from a visual point, it is a little different. So there is the bullet time to deramp
for
to
one.
Kill the overzealous fan. There was where the tap was going. Of course, it will do it to all enemy units at a battlefield.
Yeah. But I think, oh, are we going
it's
all in?
It's going to be enough. Yeah, 4. So this is the I'm going all in moment.
Yeah, I mean, your opponent is at 5 already. Switcheroo is also getting killed. We take 3. And if we want to take the Sigil of the Storm battlefield, then we would deramp another one, recycle another rune. But I cannot imagine that is going to be the case as Reaver's Row is open.
Yeah, an important note on Switcheroo for people that perhaps haven't played around it a lot. It does have to be at the same location. So could not have same battlefield specifically.
Oh, I am quite curious if something was a little bit of a misplay here from Sebiqqqqqqqqqq, because he can't play the Mind Splitter currently as there was not enough Chaos Runes. Now he can again if he wants to develop that Mind Splitter. Put away too many Chaos Runes and now found another one again. There is now exactly 7 energy open, so you could develop another Mind Splitter, but that would leave you with absolutely nothing except for the Dazzling Aurora and perhaps a Volibear Furies that you might pick up in the end there into the Reaver's Row.
So end of turn we have to do, oh well, why pay for it when you can get it for free?
Yeah, that's absolutely great. You see Hard Bargain and the Treasure Hunter. I mean, it's now immediately after this Dazzling Aurora got played. It was rapid, so fast that Marcus Patel just got starved out of resources. Only has a 2-drop in hand. Really needs to find more cards. The upside of these Aurora decks is there is not a lot of combating against the Draven deck. The Draven deck is completely starved out. Picks up another card. Now thinks, what can you do with this? You can go into the Sigil of the Storm. You will have to forfeit one of your runes. You have to recycle it. But, I mean, at this point, you have 1 card in hand, 2 cards in hand. Treasure Hunter, the other card is still not revealed. What is it going to be? That's a drop.
Nox is hopeful. One thing I think that we talked a little bit about Sivir and Misfortune and the differences. One thing that will be a benefit at some point in this game for Sebi is the legend ability for Misfortune. The ability to exhaust in order to give a unit ganking. Suddenly turns this from 2 Mind Splitters that have to take 2 turns to get around the battlefields to just, okay, well, one of them can go over there. That's fine. Of course, you have to play around things like Overzealous, Fan, Fight or Flight, Rebukes. Gust is going to come through on the Fan. Is this the moment where we go ganking?
This might be the moment where you see a handshake soon, but of course, this is untimed.
But so from 6 points to 2, have we turned that corner already? Is that the case?
I could see myself.
I can see it too, but we're in top 8, right? So do you play to your outs?
Yeah, exactly. It makes really no sense to just forfeit that game. Quite curious if Sebiq has picked up all of the units in his deck in his hand already. That kind of looks like...
Well, there's another Volibear. I think there's 1 in hand, right?
There's 2 Volibear and 1 Mind Splitter. So I think we're going through the entire deck. Oh, wow. That is unfortunate draws.
Now,
and that could turn the game around, actually.
To be pedantic, because you're not shuffling, we are seeing the exact order of cards left in Sebi. Yeah, okay, you were correct. And now Marcus gets... Oh.
Does that happen, actually, when you play Dazzling Aurora? Maybe there's a ruling for that. I have never seen a player shuffle in Riftbound. that is completely new to me, except for, of course, the first turn. Maybe there is a ruling for that. We're gonna see if this was correct or not. We're gonna...
Yeah, I'm just gonna continue on. We do have the players and the spotters. I'm gonna assume, I'm gonna give them benefit of the doubt at that point. It's not something that I've run into myself specifically.
But
as
now...
Fan gets played.
Oh, I really like what Marcus is doing now. And there's also a complete change of posture because he realized, okay, my opponent, I know exactly what cards there are on hand. There has to be at least one Volley Bear, if you do not know the exact deck list, and there has to be a Mind Splitter.
Oh, yeah, of course, because you're recycling things. the shuffle comes through. So now we have to just wait till you can play the Volley Bear out.
So, I mean, playing the Volley Bear out, that's going to take a few turns because we have bullet timed before.
Yeah, you deramped yourself.
Yeah. And now Sebiqqqqqqqqqq is quite curious. Very unlucky on the draws there. This is really not what you want to have from your Dazzling Aurora, just to hit 2 units and then be gone.
I guess that is also part of it, right, of why you're playing the Last Rites, is because there's a part of the equip cost you can recycle back into the deck, the units that are in the trash already.
That is true, but there's nothing in the trash.
Oh yeah, they're in the they're on the battlefield, and yeah, you are so right. This is such an awkward spot to be in.
Yeah. You're
we'll just pass.
Only playing on 2 Mind Splitters here. You do not have... There's no cards in hand for Marcus, so it doesn't even feel good to play a Mind Splitter from hand because it actually recycles 2 runes just to be a vanilla. It's gonna take at least 20 turns.
So we're not even looking through the deck at this point. Oh, well, no, we're gonna reveal it.
All right, so the cards are going to be shown again. That looks hilarious.
just to make sure, I guess if you're paying attention...
You know the top deck every single turn. You know every single turn what your opponent has been drawing, if you have the time to look through this and understand.
We could be here a while.
I think Marcus is now just checking the deck.
Yeah.
Of course, this is information that you're legally allowed to have.
Yeah, every card has been revealed. And then, of course, because there's a recycle mechanism, it will result in it being randomized. As you said, it's very weird to see the shuffle happening. Yeah. I'm so not used to it.
It's crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And I think this is exactly what Marcus is saying right now, too. This is something that I've experienced a lot before. But now, all of those runes are still open. Holding 2 for now is at 5, so theoretically Marcus could have another turn of chillin' a little bit, but I don't think that you want to necessarily let it get there. Yeah, it really comes down to the cards that you're drawing here.
Yeah. I feel like I jinxed Sebi by being like, you know what's bad when you're playing Aurora? Drawing your Volley Bear. And you were like, drawing both is really bad. And then, unfortunately...
Dead Bloom Predator instead of the second Volley Bear, that unit would be absolutely...
There's other things as we're actually getting into some action on the game as Overzealous Fan, Kaiser, and Noxus Hopeful, and a Draven are all going in on that 1 Mind Splitter. Okay, deramping some more. Oh, there's the scoop. Just going to look to clean up everything and does manage to take the game as Sebi in the first game of top 8. So 1-0 at this point in a fun game, but I think, you know, one that you really have to contrast with so much of the other Riftbound that we've seen here this weekend. Was a very unique game here on stream.
I did not realize how strong bullet time really is again in this meta, because you're able to ramp up so fast. I mean, we've seen ramping us down, Catalyst of Eon us back up again. Then Dazzling Aurora did all the work for Misfortune there. It just got you some units, and that was all that was necessary. You ripped some cards from hand, and then you basically did not play a single card on your turn until you just bullet timed again. It was really, really interesting. But also, this shows how, quote-unquote, weak Draven can be if you starve it out of draws.
That's the headline quote right there. This shows how weak Draven can be.
No, if you do not get into combats, your opponent doesn't offer you anything. You score some points, of course. Marcus was rapidly going through the points.
Yes. I do want to come back to this, for sure. Let's take a look at sideboards as well. We have them on screen. This is the sideboard for Misfortune. So Unyielding Spirit, not so much for this matchup. That's a lot of like Kaisers. Invert Timelines, don't know so much. So where would you think we're going with this? Is it another Gust? Gust did have some effectiveness in that game.
Gust is, I think, a very important tool against the Draven matchup for specifically this deck, because Overzealous Fan is a really strong mechanic against decks that only put big boys onto the board, right? Those big heavy might units, they just get stopped by a 2-drop, and that is really annoying. But with a Gust, you could just, on reaction speed, take this ability away from your opponent. I mean, you would rather do it proactively, because otherwise on defending they just use it.
Yeah, and do we care about Fading Memories? Is that like, do Fading Memories a Draven and let it go? And maybe, you know, because if it dies, and then can you get rid of, you know, subsequent units from that? So we'll see what Sebi actually sideboards in. This was the Game 1 list, of course, as our players are pretty much playing as we're bringing you the action. Bullet Time doing a lot of work there. I feel like if you're Sebi, you're like, okay, that was a weird game, but I'm 1-0 up. I've just got to like make sure I get to Aurora, make sure I can contend through this next game and 2-0 my way into the semifinals.
Yeah, I'm just brainstorming here how good Sigil of the Storm really is in Aurora decks, because I understand that you're deramping your opponent for one. Actually, that's fine. You don't want to give your opponent a battlefield where they can play with, and you get 1 power away from your opponent. I think it's fine, but it doesn't do that much because you don't combat all the time.
Meanwhile, no gear destruction in the sideboard of Marcus. Now, of course, when you're playing a Spinning Axe heavy Draven, Thermo Beam is not asymmetrical. It hits everything. So you don't want to get rid of them, but it is surprising to see literally none, because it does mean that, you know, going up against Aurora, you don't have too many options to get rid of it outside of the Mind Splitter. So surely they have to both come in at this point. Surely you have to maximize your chances of having a Mind Splitter on your turn where you get above that threshold of 7 runes to play it.
Yeah, I think that is the game plan here, because also, I mean, if you're, what can you realistically play, right? You can play Angle Shot, which works only on equipments. It's a good card.
Yeah, but not in this, as you said, not in this scenario.
The other one would be Factory Recall, right? And that card just bounces a gear to hand on action speed. That means if your opponent plays the Dazzling Aurora and then doesn't go into combat, they're still going to get at least 1, probably Mind Splitter or Volibear Furious out of the deck. So I think that card is also not really helping you with this. So triple Mind Splitter after siding, valid strategy. I like it.
Fair. As we're talking about Draven a little bit in between games, I think that has been one thing that players have started to pick up on a little bit more, of like how to play around Draven's effectiveness in combat and winning combats and avoiding bad combats. I think that is where so much of the deck was strong right at the beginning of Spirit Forge, where we were seeing people practice doing, you know, some of the skirmish local events and some of the online events as well. I think we've had this curve where that side of why Draven is good has somewhat been figured out to a little bit, but the one thing that I think is really important, and a lot of people won't understand this until you play a weekend-long event, consistency can be key. Of like, can I just draw cards that curve out and let me just play good, efficient units and spells to be able to consistently make my deck work?
Yeah, and I feel like this was the most unlucky Sebiqqqqqqqqqq could have gotten in that game, right?
It felt like it.
So Dazzling Aurora only hit 2 units and he drew into double Volibear. That's a 12 energy double power cost card. I feel like if you are winning a matchup versus the, I want to say, best deck in the format, apparently, I would say most so unlucky, I think you shouldn't win.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think consistency, like most consistent deck for sure, in like, especially in a grueling Swiss, like 13 rounds, I'm like, yeah, you just want that consistency to be able to, you know, round after round, make sure you nail it. As we are in top 8, so these players are obviously going to have the time they need in order to sideboard, make some decisions, and get ready for the next game. We are untimed on the rounds, so there's a very important distinction between our Swiss rounds and our top 8. I'm very happy to be watching this matchup in a top 8. Two players that we've been following all weekend.
Also, we do have a other matchup that we are having on camera, so if this one ends rather quickly, we can also watch the other game. I don't know whether we're going to watch it live or whether we're going to watch the full record of some of the games there, but we have the Ezreal matchup prepared for you guys.
It depends on how long Alan's games go with the Ezreal
Ezreal mirror match.
Mirror match could take a while. Could indeed take some time as we head to a second game between Marcus and Sebi.
Now Marcus has the option to go first. I think this is a very important thing that you want to have versus the Aurora. You play a bunch of 2-drops, can't miss it, really.
Yeah.
You can't miss that one, because that's 2 points you're missing in the long run. You will have to have the first conquer, and then of course a hold again when your opponent is trying to ramp you up. So really cannot miss that one. So playing in Targon's Peak and at the Obelisk of Power, so you can also hit a 3-drop. Does Draven even play those?
So there's a few different things that happen with Obelisk here, right? Yes, if you're the Aurora player, you're like, cool, I get to Aurora closer. Draven gets to play Draven, like, I guess it's when you're on when you're going second, you get to play it pretty much right away. But you get to play Draven plus have some additional, you know, utility on that turn with an extra rune available, but that's going to be a quick. Noxus Hopeful gets the Legion cost reduction thanks to the stacked deck.
You know what, this is a incredibly powerful first turn, usually against most decks, but Riftbound is unique in the way that all of your units, doesn't matter how mighty they are, they can only score 1 point.
Yeah.
And this pressure on the board really does not do a lot for Marcus.
So there was no Catalyst from Sebi on the opening turn, but it was immobilized to just get 1 rune.
Yeah, but that is still decent.
Yep, so. Yeah, it still helps you get to the Aurora. So I think Marcus probably is breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief that it wasn't Catalyst immediately, and then you're really ramping heavily. Stack deck again. This time will reveal it. Immediately the Mind Splitter goes down. No surprises on that either.
So takes the Targon's Peak, decides to go into this early. Find that very interesting. I think that in the next turn there is a decent chance there could be something that is dropped and you want to prolong the Targon's Peak trigger, if you know what I mean, right? So that you do not take it now, because in the next turn, kind of unlikely that something's going to happen. You would rather want to take it in the next one, so you Mind Splitter and then have 2 runes open.
There's 1 Aurora in hand. Now, if Sebi has the luck to draw a second, 2 Mind Splitters and Cold Shot.
Oh, you want those to go under the deck.
Yeah, you obviously need the Cold Shot. The Cold Shot is what I'm oohing about, because it's going to be able to at least give you the option to dig for some more. You'll deramp to do it, but we've already seen that Sebi is has no worries about deramping when necessary.
After Aurora has been played. Because if you do that before, you're going to take away your pivotal Aurora.
That is very true. That is very true. But yeah, you are totally right. You can't deramp too early on. So it will still be a problem if this Aurora gets Mind Splitted out of hand, which surely it will.
I think the coolest thing you can have in this deck, actually brings in the Misfortune Captain. I think the coolest thing you can do in this deck is stack deck, reveal 2 units and put them on the bottom of the deck, so you can make sure that you're not drawing them and you have enough Aurora cards.
Now, is this Misfortune potentially knowing that Mind Splitter is coming? It's like, I have to have a backup plan because you're going to tap the Aurora immediately here. There's like almost, I would be engaged.
It's already suggesting.
doesn't even wait for his opponent. He's like, you want this? Yeah, you want this.
Yeah, well, you want this, you'll get it. Next turn there could be a potential super risky turn. Actually, no. We have, with the Misfortune Captain, we've deramped ourselves in a way that we hit 8 runes next turn. So that is not even going to be the Aurora turn, already predicting that there might be a Mind Splitter going first.
And that's what I mean. It's like, if you have now a challenge in hand, you're like, okay, it's going to push me back in order to Aurora. So do I have to fight for essentially developing a board or developing a strategy based on what is still here? The Mind Splitter is a bit problematic, I will be honest, just as a unit on its own. Like, you can't really challenge your way past it too well. Draven is something you kind of want to take out, but again, you're not dealing with the biggest threat.
Oh, Draven doesn't even take the Conquer on the Obelisk of Power, realizing that this Misfortune Captain might as well be able to really challenge him now that he's completely tapped out. Can't get the Targon's Peak trigger this turn, of course, was only holding it. And now we're going to Call Shot. Now, I figured that maybe if you play Call Shot, you want to wait until you have enough runes to play your Dazzling Aurora on that turn, so you can float the runes and then Aurora on the same turn.
Volibear goes to the bottom. It was a bullet time that went to hand. There's 2 catalysts, so no surprises was going there. Problem is, there's no Aurora in hand, right? So you can be waiting forever. If you never draw into it, doesn't matter if you've got the runes up or not.
Yeah,
you can be sat there with 9 runes up and be like, cool, my Aurora will get cast anytime. Yeah, deramping heavily into this. Gonna deramp all the way down again. It's a Gust, and I didn't see the second card, is a hard bargain.
Feels like this game, Sebiqqqqqqqqqq is playing a completely different deck.
Yeah, I mean, this is the downside, right, of Aurora when it gets taken out of hand. early. Punch First will help you get past the Mind Splitter.
That is
going to be the priority, but Punch First is a heavy deramping spell. You have to take away 2 orange runes to do it.
If you punch first, you're never Auroring.
No.
Especially after you went down to 4. Now you are at 4 runes. Of course, you're still floating, and you can play a Catalyst of Eons here.
Yeah, so we'll get 2 more. So you'll be able to at least stabilize.
So next turn, again, if we do not play something like a Mobilize, next turn there is, again, no chance to play a good old Dazzling Aurora, because you are right now at 6, would go up to 8. Now we're going to play a challenge, so we're going to take another Rune Entry Cycle. Draven is being taken out, and Marcus Patel looks like he's fine with it.
But so much of what Sebi is playing for is just slowing you down, just a little bit. Just like take away 1 unit, be able to play around it, okay, maybe that's enough, and just say, okay, harder for you to take multiple points. Targon Speak is going to allow the readying of runes at the end. There's a Gust in hand.
That's cool. At this point, Sebi is just playing Misfortune. It's just an actual Misfortune deck, readying everything. Oh, wow.
Big card here, with the Misfortune moving to the battlefield. Bryn here getting played to the battlefield, sorry, to the base, and at this point there are no real options for Sebi to play out at reaction speed to that. So the Mind Splitter goes in, takes out the Misfortune. That was the backup plan for Sebi after deramping, was can I contest these battlefields? And we've already seen another Mind Splitter drawn for Marcus, for any potential Aurora that cannot be played before that Mind Splitter resolves.
Keeps the pressure up so much that his opponent has to constantly deramp himself. Catalyst of Aeons is now considered, and that is again a huge turn where you do not get any tempo, you do not get anything done. Yes, next turn is a possible Aurora turn, but you're for sure going to be met with another Mind Splitter, and by the way, you don't even have one.
Well, is this where Marcus goes with the Mind Splitter? Is this it where you're like, well, he's either got it, or I take it now?
You're at 6, there is no unit. I think if you Mind Splitter and there was an Aurora, I don't even think you would take it.
This is a Mind Splitter. Is this the bullet time that you take? And just say, I'm going to stop you from clearing out the whole battlefield. You do deramp to do it, but
I think it should be the bullet time. It's the only card that can really stop you. If there is a Dazzling Aurora top deck, it's doing nothing because you're on game point and you're at 6.
You get the information. Punch First, no unit. Gust, no target, no Aurora, means likely in game 2, Marcus knows there shouldn't be a hope for Sebi to turn it around. If it's an Aurora off the top, I don't even know whether it turns it around, because that is a stacked battlefield, base for Marcus. And I think checking...
we're packing
I was going to say, checking the trash for no real reason at this point. We're going to a game 3 between Sebi and Marcus.
Very, very strong. Also, Marcus playing around a possible bullet time top deck. I know that bullet time wouldn't have saved Sebi, because if you take out a Mind Splitter, you're basically taking away all of your runes, and then you still, again, can't play the game anymore while your opponent is loaded in base with units. So we have seen a first game where Sebi was really unlucky, but still won with the double Mind Splitter, and now Marcus sideboarding pattern against this deck with no gear removal, but hand removal has worked out quite well. I can imagine that when you're on the play, I think this time around, he's going to have to use Obelisk of Power, right? So when you are going second, that could be a first turn Draven, really cool. But I think you can hit your opponent very hard on a hard bargain.
Yeah, it really depends. When you kind of go through the steps, it really now depends on like the catalysts, like the number of catalysts that come out, the number of ramp spells that come out in those first few turns for Sebi, whether you can beat the Mind Splitter turn, because you have to feel like Marcus is going to mulligan aggressively for it and draw aggressively for it.
I mean, you also still need a 2-drop, but I mean, if you're mulliganing aggressively, you either keep it in hand or you're mulliganing for both, right? You keep a Mind Splitter in hand if you draw one, but you're still going to try hard to get a 2-drop. Actually, I don't think you do. It's Obelisk of Power, you're going second.
So you can go
Draven.
Draven, exactly, so you, you can just aggressively mulligan for your answer to the Aurora, which again, no gear removal, but hasn't seemed to be a problem in at least the second game. Sideboard once again from Sebi.
I guess an option that you would have is if you are mulliganing for a 2-drop, you drop it and you keep 2 runes open for a possible hard bargain. Because if Sebiqqqqqqqqqq starts, he starts at 3 with the Obelisk of Power and then goes to 5. So immediately on the second turn, I mean, that would work at 2.
If there's a catalyst, yeah, you can maybe
you can bargain it.
Hard bargain it. Yeah, there's options there certainly. And this is the thing, is like there are so many lines that you have to be thinking of as a player in this situation. Top 8. Never underestimate, first of all, the power of the Scouts Code, and secondly, never underestimate how complex the game at this level can be. We've seen our players having to make incredibly precise plays. I'm letting the crowd, I hope you can hear that through the microphones, as Sebi has a lot of players in support watching this matchup. Shout out to the crowd here at Bologna, here in Bologna. They've been very, very, like, you know, enthusiastic. I was going to say rowdy, but I actually don't think it's rowdy. They've just been very enthusiastic.
The Polish community has brought so many talented players to this tournament. I mean, we are seeing multiple in the top 8, and it is just a blast to watch them play. We've had so many on the featured matches, and they are just cheering for Sebi. They want him to win, but also Marcus is a household name in TCG. He has his fans and he has his friends who also want to support him.
And that's one of the coolest things, I think, about Riftbound is the convergence of players from so many different games, so many different communities, and then we even have players who are making a name for themselves for the first time in any game in Riftbound as well. So it is really heartening to see just how much enthusiasm there has been here all weekend long. So thank you everybody in attendance, thank you everybody at home that has been watching. We've got a lot more Riftbound still to play. We're getting ready for our last game of this best of 3, and that animation means we are pretty much ready to go. Players are deciding their mulligans for a knockout stage at this point. Sebi and Marcus, this game advances one of them to the semi-finals.
Now, I want to know what Marcus has in hand, because that looks like a mulligan for 1.
So 3 cards are pretty good.
Yeah, we have discussed so many different mulliganing strategies, and they all include combinations of like 3 different cards. So I would say it's very unlikely that you actually get them. But if you have 3 cards in hand that you want to keep, that is going to be really...
2 from Sebi, and one of them off the top is a catalyst. We are aspirants climbing, an obelisk of powering.
This is the absolute late game battlefield scenario, right? Obelisk of power that gets you there faster for the Dazzling Aurora, and the aspirants climb that is prolonging the game. Now stack deck is going to be used. Are we profiting immediately off of the Obelisk of power? Sebiqqqqqqqqqq is probably trying to find a mobilize to ramp up even faster.
Now, do not be alarmed. We are going to 9. We will go to 9.
Actually, if you find a mobilize here, you are going to go up to 6 next turn, and then if you Catalyst of Aeons, you can't be hard bargained for without the repeat cost.
Ooh, there is a mobilize. As you said, that's 4, so it gives you the non-repeat.
Well, the crowd is going ballistic. Everyone in. There is absolutely wilding Draven.
There's a Draven. That's the benefit of getting Obelisk of Power, which means it tells you the shields are down for this Catalyst, which is going to accelerate the game. There is an Aurora in hand.
Wow, and there's a
Catalyst is going to be played. So 1 Mind Splitter in hand means that's not going to be able to come from the top of the deck. Gets to the point where we're at Dazzling Aurora next turn.
And this can't be a Mind Splitter turn. And this is going to be an uphill climb for Marcus.
And we know there is no gear gear destruction in the sideboard of Marcus's deck. So it was all about getting a Mind Splitter out. And it hasn't happened at this point. It's going to be readying for Sebi into Dazzling Aurora. And what is the card that we will see? Because Marcus has taken control of both battlefields, which means Marcus will go to 4.
This is for Marcus now a really, really tough match because he is controlling both battlefields. You're right about that, but the on-curve Dazzling Aurora is looking to close it out rather sooner than later, which is already a tough ask from this deck. Now you also have 1 rune left remaining.
What's it going to be? We know it's not a Dead Bloom. We know it's not going... Oh, Volibear off the top is a huge card. And now it's down to what can Marcus have in hand in order to
play through a Volibear
imposing.
That is a 12 energy cost, 10 might unit, shield +3 tank. And when your opponent tries to move into the battlefield that is not his, you draw a card. So Volibear is imposing a real threat for Marcus.
The Mind Splitter just one turn too late after the ramp. Oh wow, it was second Aurora, which with this list, there's not too many units in play anyway. 2 Gusts and a Mind Splitter, so...
I'm calling you, do you take the Mind Splitter?
Well, if you take the Mind Splitter and Last Rites comes out, then you give a target back to Aurora.
Wow, yeah.
So there are not many targets. I mean, Gust is doing nothing. Do you take the Aurora and just, well, this is such a weird situation. It's a time where Mind Splitter has revealed an Aurora and you have to second guess because it wasn't coming down immediately, but it is going to be the Aurora. I don't want to have to face too quick of an onslaught. Marcus is thinking, can I just play through this? I'm going to lose 1 battlefield, and then we'll see how I can recover.
Oh, Marcus now deciding. He has seen the full hand. He has full information, hiding 2 cards. There is only 2 Gusts and a Mind Splitter in hand for Sebiqqqqqqqqqq. So those cards there, they are not pushing the mission for Sebiqqqqqqqqqq. If those are both fight or flights, or if there's a switcheroo, there's very little that Sebiqqqqqqqq can actually do against this, but picks up this massive spell from the top. That looks like a challenge that he is just absolutely ripping here.
And if there's something you don't want to challenge, it is a Volibear if you are on Marcus's side. So Volibear will be able to put out a bunch of damage onto the Kaiser. That puts a Fight or Flight away as well that was not able to be used. Volibear goes to Aspirant's Climb and takes control. And we've still got an Aurora to resolve at the end of this turn.
Yep, the Aurora is going to... Oh my goodness.
Just a flat Mind Splitter from hand.
Takes away another option. Overzealous Fan is not going to do much. The other units as well. You at this point need crazy amounts of removal spells, but do you even have those? Of course, Draven does not really play hard removal in the deck, just because of the reason that you want to go into those combats. You want to push your own units to maximum amount of might that you can reach, but that is going to never be enough, honestly, if you're facing Volibear imposing.
So players are just talking through with our table spotter the exact situation that we're in. Of course, we want to make sure everything is correct at this point in the top 8. So we will bring things down for a moment as they are clearly counting things through.
So
we do not have the player audio, just for clarification. So we're not sure of exactly the point that they're making. We were very excited about the Aurora.
Yeah.
So I have not been counting runes.
Oh no, the Aurora was definitely correct.
That is typically not something that I'm able to juggle in my head while getting, you know, excited about a game.
Well, you are an Aurora player, mate.
I don't need to count that when somebody else is playing it. I only need to count it when I'm playing it.
That's a very good point. Darius is getting taken out because Darius actually is posing a threat for the Volibear together with the Mind Splitter. But then again, keep in mind, this was a hard-played unit. There is going to be Dazzling Aurora in the end. We know there is 2 more Mind Splitters on the bottom of the deck of Sebiqqqqqqqq, so probably going to find another Volibear before.
Rolling the dice again. What comes off the top? We know it's a big unit.
It's Volibear, no? It has to be, unless it was sided out.
Okay, so it should be another copy of Volibear imposing then.
Oh, have we sided out the crowd? They want to see what card is.
They want to see what the card is. We want to see it too.
Oh my goodness, bullet time.
There it is. Oh my goodness, double Volibear. On to Aspirant's Climb.
And now Marcus realized that this is a tough game in top 8 of the regional qualifier here in Bologna, the first major event in Europe. We have had so many great games, and now we're looking forward to closing this one out, because that is a huge Aspirant's Climb for Marcus.
So, we're very excited about this, and I am excited too. Is there a chance that you rip Rebukes off the top and really mess up the plan of Sebi? Is that within the realm of possibility?
I think you need multiple rebukes.
Stranger things have happened.
That is indeed true, but
I just always like looking at the outs here.
Yeah.
For the player that we perhaps think has started in some ways to lose control of the game, because Marcus has had full control up until this point.
Yeah.
We are going to Aspirant's Climb. We're going to 9 points. So the game is not over, and we're on a hold. So it's going to take Sebi quite a few turns to get to 9, holding just one battlefield, and we know there are no more units there. So it's on drawing last rights.
Yeah, I mean, this is 2 extra draws. Marcus deciding to push the Mind Splitter into this obelisk of power, his own battlefield that he wants to stack good defenses in. But Volibear imposing when a unit moves to a battlefield that is not his, you get a draw. So that was a very, very expensive move there. And keep in mind, this is not a Sivir deck. Volibear imposing is such a huge unit, and Misfortune just gives ganking. And
there's one more unit. Ooh, Sabotage comes out, so that'll be able to, eats a Spinning Axe. Another significant card removed, as Marcus will tidy up the bottom of the deck. There is also the Misfortune from the Chosen Champion zone as well, just as another unit to play. We've got Last Rights potentially accessible from the graveyard, so Marcus is really banking on these top decks to pay off. Either something to draw into more options, or like just a rebuke off the top would help, but is it enough? That is going to be a gust to take back the overzealous fan.
That is the problem with Draven. If your opponent can guarantee that you get no draws in a bad situation, very rarely top decks can help you out.
Yeah.
You need a lot of pressure with the deck. There is going to be, for every overzealous fan that is going to be played, a gust will find its way. We know that Sebiqqqqqqqqqq has another one of those. Double Volibear imposing right now. If you give it ganking, could actually be a little tough for you.
Yeah, because you still do have to take the Mind Splitter and the Draven off this battlefield.
Yeah.
You still do have to stop Marcus from going, you know, hold, hold, hold. Okay, great, I'm there.
Yeah.
You have to build back into the game. I mean, there's also a world where I believe there's another bullet time left for Sebi, where Sebi just grabs every single rune that is necessary and says, I'm going through the battlefield, and just bullet times everything away. And then at that point, Volibear moves across and really the screws turn. Really
starts to hold both battlefields there. I don't think it will happen this turn, just because we have seen the gust already. And I feel like the Overzealous Fan is the card that you would have really not targeted with a gust if you were going to deal spread damage anyways.
But there is a finish there, is the point. There is that non-combat version of clearing out a battlefield, and Sebi has not been afraid to say, I'm deramping.
Going to see a new organization of our runes.
It's going to be Misfortune from
the captain.
Champion zone. That does now give a good amount of strength in base for Sebi.
It's accelerated as well. You can ready something that's exhausted, so you can give
moving everything?
Ganking if you move the Misfortune.
Is it multiple units moving? Okay, it's going to be Volibear goes back. Misfortune goes to the battlefield. Volibear goes in.
Insane.
Oh, and both Volibear are going. Math is for defenders.
Math is for defenders. That's scary, Matt. That is 27 might all of a sudden, while the Aspirant's Climb is just being held by the Misfortune. Clarifying something with the judges, and that is going to be a win for Sebiqqqqqqqqqq.
Sebiqqqqqqqqqq gets the reveal from Marcus, and Sebiqqqqqqqqqq will advance to the semi-finals.
Phenomenal. The curve, the divine curve, almost the Aspirant's Climb into the absolute victory there was going to be. So many rules. He had the Catalyst of Aeons, he had the Mobilize before, and then he just hit immediately the Dazzling Aurora. Also had a Sabotage to make sure everything's going as planned, and of course immediately at the beginning, the stack deck, putting 2 Mind Splitters under the deck, so guaranteeing that with the Mind Splitter in hand, you're going to hit Volibear after Volibear.
What a sequence. What a best of 3. Everybody get ready to make sweeping statements about Draven. I mean, no no discounting Marcus' performance. Top 8 performance, 1 and 2 in the round of 8. Really had a good showing across the weekend. So excited to see what Marcus has in future events that we undoubtedly will see. But this moment is Sebi's going into the semi-final rounds, piloting a deck that everyone thought was dead.
Yeah.
Everyone thought was gone. No one was going to play Misfortune Aurora. It was either Sivir Aurora or nothing. But nevertheless, Sivir, Misfortune, see, even I'm doing it. Misfortune Aurora comes out, brings 2 copies of Volibear Imposing. And to attack. Yeah. Like, not even just defending with it. He's able to clear out the battlefield and say, okay, the game is mine.
Yeah, and Marcus, of course, he could have dragged this game out for a little bit longer, but he said, hey dude, you're in absolute control of this, and I'm never ever going to take back any of those battlefields realistically. There's a chance that you can get the Misfortune Captain, but then again, he was only at 5 points, and we were in an Aspirants Climb game that goes to 9, so even if you get it there, another Volibear is just going to get ganking, and it's really going to gank you. Volibear ganks hit hard if they work.